Well, hello, Stu. How are you?
I'm very well, Glenn.
You're very well.
Thank you for asking.
Good. I want to start with an apology. You know, I always say lead with your mistakes, right? And made a horrible, horrible mistake by mocking the women astronauts.
You did?
Yes. Yesterday we talked about those brave women that went into space. And we said it was frivolous. We said they were goofy. We said that doesn't make you an astronaut. Mm-hmm. But I stand corrected. Here's Gayle King. Cut 22, please.
This is what bothers me, because I've certainly read some of the things online, coming from people that I know, that I like, that I consider friends. And this is what I would say to that. Space is not an either or. It's a both and. And because you do something in space doesn't mean you're taking anything away from Earth. And what you're doing in space is trying to make things better here on Earth. What Blue Origin wants to do is take the waste here and figure out a way to put it in space to make our planet cleaner. I mean, Jeff Bezos has so many ideas, and the people that are working there are really devoted and dedicated to making our planet a better place. That's number one. Number two, have you been? If you've been and you still feel that way after you come back, please let's have a conversation. Number three, please don't call it a ride. That is not a friggin' ride. Whenever a man goes up, you have never said to an astronaut, boy, what a ride. You know, we duplicated the same trajectory that Alan Shepard did back in the day. Pretty much. No one called that a ride. It was called a flight. It was called a journey, because a ride implies that it's something frivolous or something that's lighthearted.
Yeah.
There was nothing frivolous about what we did.
Yes, there was a lot of things.
And the machine that we were on, and what it took for the people to get that machine up and running, to get us up and get us back down safely. So, I'm very disappointed. Very saddened by it. And also say this. What it's doing to inspire other women and young girls, please don't ignore that. I've had so many women and young girls reach out to me, and men too, by the way, that say, wow, I never thought I could do that, but I see you doing it at this stage of my life. Who would have thunk it? Not me.
Not you.
And how inspired they are.
Yes, because she trained for a very long time. She's worked her whole life for this opportunity, and don't demean it.
Her whole life?
Her whole life. She's worked.
How much of her life?
Well, a couple of hours last week. She was working on it. Yeah. Can we just start from the beginning? I mean, unpack this one. Jeff Bezos is looking to take our garbage and
which you said waste.
Our garbage and eject it into space? Is that, have you heard that plan? I haven't heard that plan.
I was thinking maybe she was referring to like some emissions situation. Like maybe she's thinking of like...
What, we're going to bottle up?
No, I don't think it's going to be on the ship.
I don't
the plan
understand.
certainly can't be... we're going.
Could you play that
nuclear
at the
waste?
Should we just play?
Maybe
we're going to shoot nuclear waste into space.
Yes,
that's okay now.
I'm not saying it's okay.
That's the plan. All right, could you play just the beginning of that? This is new information.
This is what bothers me.
Yes,
because I've certainly read some of the things online, coming from people that I know, that I like, that I consider friends.
Right.
And this is what I would say to that. Space is not an either or. It's a both and. And because you do something in space doesn't mean you're taking anything away from Earth.
Okay, stop right there. First of all, may I just play? Because I remember the people who stopped us going to the moon and everything, they were the ones who said, what are we doing? We have enough. We've got problems here. Why are we going into space? They're still saying that. Why are we going into space? What difference? We have people we could feed here. Okay. All right. Let me just remind you, 1997, here's Bob Odenkirk and David Cross. Listen to this.
Okay.
Thank you very much. We have an announcement to make. On July 4th of this year, America will blow up the moon.
We think the monkey's 100% right. We're spending so much money, millions of dollars to blow up the moon, when there's so much right here on Earth to blow up. Mount Everest, the North Pole, etc. We're Earthlings. Let's blow up Earth things. We're Earthlings. Let's blow up
Earth.
And they blow up the moon.
Yeah.
We're Earthlings. Let's blow up Earth things. I think.
I think this is probably, this is funny for a reason. because we've heard that argument over and over again from people like her. Okay, I don't know if she's ever said it, but I know people she thinks are friends definitely say that. Okay, so then her next comment is, "What? Why is Bezos going up?" Here, play the rest of it, please, from Gayle King.
Or it's a both and. And because you do something in space, doesn't mean you're taking anything away from Earth. And what you're doing in space is trying to make things better here on Earth.
Okay.
What Blue Origin wants to do is take the waste here and figure out a way to put it in space to make our planet cleaner.
Okay, stop. I'm pretty sure that's what she's saying. Let's take the garbage, whatever that garbage is, and shoot it into space. I've never heard that plan. Sarah, is it just me? Have you heard that plan? I mean,
no, never.
Okay, I'm just a casual observer of all of this, but I think that would have stood out to me. You know?
Yeah, I'm trying to...
Especially to those on the left. Especially if it's like nuclear waste. We're just going to take all of our nuclear waste and just shoot it out into space. I don't think that's a good idea.
I mean, they're definitely doing stuff with like trying to figure out how to deal with waste that is generated in space, right? Like that's definitely
that's not what she's saying.
That's not what she's saying.
That's not making the Earth. It's not like we're going to take all the space junk and bring it back to Earth.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, it's crazy.
I'm trying. I mean, just going through it. I don't see anything.
Then she goes on. Okay. So we got two of them. One,
already insane.
Two, already insane things. Then she says, and don't talk to me unless you've been you've been there.
So we can't have a conversation about space.
You're
because
not a
we haven't
woman,
been
and you're
to
not
space.
a female astronaut or a male astronaut. So you can't talk about anything that has to do with females, and you can't have anything to do with. Are you an astronaut? No, you're not an astronaut. Don't talk to me about space. You know, you're a flat earther. I've been to space. Have you been to space? I mean, that is insane.
That's insane.
That's insane. If you're going to do that, Gayle, I would just reciprocal tariff here. Have you ever been president? No? Don't talk about the president anymore.
Just don't.
Just don't. You're not qualified. You've never been president. So stop talking about the president.
And I'm concerned because for the first astronaut that ever went into space, no one had been there before. Could they talk about it before they go? What's the rule on that?
No,
it's just utterly stupid.
Which brings me to comparing yourself to Alan Shepard. Alan Shepard. I will tell you this: when Alan Shepard came back and re-entered, he wasn't going. He wasn't doing that. Okay, all right. You ladies were, but it wasn't a ride. Although it sounded an awful lot like, the sounds of like a roller coaster. It sounded like a ride, like you were on a ride, feels like you were on a ride. And you know what exactly? Because when I go in the car and somebody else is driving, it's really kind of a ride.
Yeah.
If I'm, and it's even more of a ride if I'm just put into a seat, strapped in, then I have nothing I can do except wait for the person to come and push that bar forward so I can get out of the ride. And that's really what you did. You got in, somebody else strapped you in, you went up for 4 minutes, you came down. It's like a carnival ride. The only difference between a carnival ride and this one, yes, you wasted a lot. You just burned CO2 like crazy. You hurt the earth, but you didn't do anything scientific, okay? You just went up and you came back. And, great, I'd do it if I were asked, but I wouldn't come back and say I was an astronaut and declare that it wasn't a ride and somehow or another I have special powers now because it wasn't a ride. The only thing missing between this and a ride was toothless carny workers that opened the door. And you know what? Jeff Bezos, did you see him open the door? He closed the door because, you got to open it with a key. His wife was inside. Let me out. I want to have sex with you. I'm going to have sex with her. And so she opens the door. He closes it and then walks around for a while and then reaches into his pocket to get like a key to open up the door. It was so bizarre. So bizarre. So I'm not sure the carny workers weren't there.
Right, they might have been. Maybe he's the equivalent.
The equivalent.
It's so bizarre to claim this. It's like obviously that was just a ride. It was. It has nothing to do with them being women. No. Like I'm thinking back to was it Krista McAuliffe, the teacher on.
You mean the astronaut, just like Gayle King?
But legitimately, always referred to as an astronaut. Like she was the first teacher, right? That went on, of course. Unfortunately, blew up. It was the Challenger, right?
Challenger, yeah.
But like. She was never demeaned as like, oh, she's just going for a ride. Like, because at least my perception was as a kid, I remember, I watched that one in school. What a wonderful day that was. But like they showed her as someone who was not only just a teacher on for a ride, but had trained for months and months and months and months for the mission
to be an astronaut.
To be an astronaut.
Yeah, right.
Right? Like, that's how I perceived her. She was a woman, by the way.
Right.
So,
well, Gayle King can talk about her. You can't. Here's the thing.
Good point.
I don't think by Gayle King saying that she went up in a 4-minute trip. Okay, 4 minutes. She was in space for what? 45 seconds? A minute, maybe? 4-minute trip. That's up and back.
I think it was 4 up and 4 down, wasn't it? I think it was 8 minutes total.
Was it 8 minutes?
Something like that.
Oh, wow.
So now what are you saying?
Gosh, that's at least 8 times the time that Jeff Bezos has ever spent on it. Anyway.
I know where you're going with that one.
That was up and down. Okay. All right. So anyway, I don't think it's demeaning at all to the first woman in space who gave her life to go to space, to compare yourself, not just to Alan Shepard, but to Christy McAuliffe, who trained for it. You're now declaring you're an astronaut. Can you imagine if I went into space and I came back? Elon Musk says, we're gonna launch Glenn into space. First of all, that would be the left's greatest joy. Somebody saying, we're going to launch him into space. They would love that. But then he would say, well, we're going to bring him back. And that would be the problem. But if I came back and I said, I'm an astronaut, don't talk about space. Have you been there? Don't talk to me about space. This wasn't just a ride. Can you imagine what would be said? Rightfully so. Can you imagine what would be said? Unbelievable. By the way, I happen to have the flag that landed on the beaches of Normandy. So don't talk to me about Normandy. I've been there. Okay? I've been there. I was there. I witnessed it. I'm just as much as a hero as Gayle King is, honestly. I mean, I'm looking for the medal that I'm going to get for my time on the beaches of Normandy because I have that. I have the ruby slippers over there too. Did you know that? I'm Dorothy.
That one I believe.
Wait a minute. What?
I believe you put those things on when no one's around the museum.
No, feet are too big.
Oh, yeah, unfortunately.
Right,
you tried.
Yeah.
But I just, there's a really weird reaction to this, right? Like the proper thing is to say, like, these astronauts that do this every day are incredible, and we're just there. We're trying to experience a little slight piece of what they do.
Unbelievable,
That's
right?
The right
That's
response,
the right
right?
response.
It's something humble. Like,
yes.
What is that? Is she really that, like, does she have no self-awareness at all? How pathetic this looks?
Yes.
Not to mention, like, the only reason she's there is because she's got, connections in the media.
Correct.
And knows people.
Yeah.
She's not even, like, I don't know, the whole thing is just disgusting. Right? Just admit.
That sounds, do you know how many women are inspired by this? Women
None. I also want to be very wealthy and connected is not a new thing we need to be motivated for.
All right, let me tell you about Relief Factor. Close your eyes for a second. Imagine you wake up tomorrow and the pain is just gone. What would you do? Well, if you're Gayle King, you'd be launching yourself into space again. You'd lace up your sneakers, take a walk with your spouse like you used to, bend down, pick up your grandchild without a jolt of hesitation. You'd finally be, I'm going on that trip with you. The hobby, the yard work, whatever it is, you'd do it. Pain runs through all of our lives, and it ruins everything. Your moment, your patience, your plans, but it doesn't have to stay that way. Relief Factor is helping real people expand their world again by targeting the inflammation that causes everyday pain. It's 100% drug-free, developed by doctors, and trusted by over 1 million people who refuse to accept that pain is just part of aging. 3-week quick start. Try it now. $19.95 for 3 weeks. For many, it's all it takes to begin their comeback story. So ask yourself, if the pain were gone tomorrow, what would you do? For $19.95, try Relief Factor's 3-week quick start. Less than $1 a day. 800-4-RELIEF. 800, the number 4-RELIEF or relieffactor.com. 10 seconds, station ID. You know, I was invited to drive a pace car around the Daytona 500 track a few years ago. And so, well, I'm not going to talk to you about it because you're not a race car driver like I am.
That's the new standard.
That is really it.
God, I mean,
I drove a pace car around the Daytona 500. That would be like me now coming on and saying,
it would not. You drove a pace car. You drove it.
You're right.
You are way more qualified to talk about the Daytona 500 than she.
Right.
I mean, you actually gone around the track.
Yeah. You're right.
She's done.
You're right.
What has she
I never
done?
thought of it.
She didn't do anything. She rode in a vehicle. If you were a passenger in that car, then perhaps that would be the equivalent. But you've done much more.
My son is equivalent to Gayle King.
Yes.
And oh my gosh, I'm better than Gayle King. Wow.
That's what an achievement.
What an achievement
You've unlocked level 0.
I can go to the next level, which is start.
You keep saying it, and it's true. Like, I'm sure it was a blast, right? Like, it was great. It would be a lot of fun.
But there's nothing frivolous about this.
It was totally frivolous,
No.
though. It's 100% frivolous.
Okay, look. She got on because of her grand accomplishments in
the
science.
Field of
and the
something.
same thing with the singer, whoever she was. And
Katy Perry.
And Jeff Bezos' wife or girlfriend was there. Well, she's a surgeon. Well, I mean, she's had a lot of surgery, so I would count that as a surgeon, wouldn't you?
Of course. She's the only one qualified to talk about it.
Yeah, she's the only one that could talk about plastics and surgery. So, and now an astronaut too. Crazy.
It's okay to just have a fun experience. Maybe you didn't change the world with your little ride into the.
No, she did.
Maybe she didn't.
No,
I mean, I think maybe she should think about the fact.
No, she did. She did. Do you know how many people are? You know how many women got up this morning and went, "Wow, I could be an astronaut. I could be an astronaut." You know,
no,
without any kind of preparation, I could put on a wetsuit. You know. A blue wetsuit, so it looks like I'm going into space, but it's not a spacesuit, it's a wetsuit. I guess in case you've, crash into the ocean, which is right there in the middle of the desert. I'm not sure why they were wearing wetsuits, but, she could wear a wetsuit and be an astronaut.
It's a basic question. Could she have worn pajamas on this flight?
Yes.
Did she need the spacesuit at all?
No, I don't think so.
Isn't this just her?
Nope.
She's just in a vehicle.
No.
She could have been in flannels.
I contend they could have... given her all the instructions she needed while they were strapping her in, and she could have just pulled up in a car, rolled right out of bed. I'm sorry, just wearing my pajamas. What are we doing here again? Are you going to go up in space? Okay, just strap me in. Do I have anything to do? Nope, just enjoy the ride. Did you call it a ride?
This is Glenn Beck.
You know that feeling when you're too hot, then too cold, then sweating under the blanket, but freezing without it? Yeah. Most bedding doesn't help. It traps heat, holds moisture, and turns what should be a rest into a night battle. That's what Cozy Earth does different. Their sheets, their comforters, their pajamas are made from ultra-soft, breathable fabric that naturally helps regulate your body temperature. That means fewer wake-ups, deeper sleep, and, a morning where you don't feel like you just ran a marathon in your bed. I'm here to tell you, once you sleep on Cozy Earth, you'll wonder how you ever settled for anything else. They're incredibly soft, machine washable, and they hold up night after night, year after year. They come with a 10-year warranty. Cozy Earth just doesn't make better bedding. They've redefined what sleep itself can feel like. So stop waking up sweaty. Stop tossing, the covers off and then dragging them back on. Start actually sleeping. You'll get 100 nights risk-free, plus every bedding product is backed by a 10-year warranty. So visit CozyEarth.com. That's CozyEarth.com. Use the promo code BECK and get 40% off the sheets, the great pajamas, the towels, and so much more. CozyEarth.com. Code BECK is sleep better right now with Cozy Earth.
Head over to blazetv.com/Glenn and subscribe today. Get $30 off your subscription when you use the promo code Glenn.
We're going to get to some really important stuff. I mean, not now, but at some point we'll get to some really important stuff. Actually, the week that it is, I think there are other things that are much more important. I think our attitude, our hope, our being the resilient American is so important right now. The world is watching us right now and how we're reacting. And I want to talk to you about what the president is doing with tariffs. I did a show last night that if you missed, you really need to see. And we'll go over it here in a little while. But the world's watching us, watching the president and watching us. How are we reacting? Who are we as a nation? A lot of people think that as people, we are just, we can't take any pain. That's why fights will happen with the United States, because they just think, our enemies just think they'll not be able to stand it. They can't take it. They can't take it. And is that who we are? I want to take you back to 1920. 1920, we were a nation that was bruised by war. We were battered by the grind of progress. Everything was changing, but we were dreaming. We were always dreaming of something better. That's who Americans are. Always dreaming. And it's what makes us different as a people. And that comes from hope. And where does hope come from? Hope comes from something. Hope comes from faith in something real. Okay? That's something that has always given Americans hope is God and his promises, knowing that God is real and his promises are real. When you understand his promises, they're all based in hope. They're all based in love. And when God is real to people, they act differently. That's how you can tell a real Christian. Do they act differently? Or are they still the same nasty people they always were? If you are, then you haven't been changed by it. When it becomes part of who you are and everything that you produce, that's how you know somebody has really changed. And as the world was faltering, millions were dead. You had the influenza of 1918 just right in your rearview mirror. Where did that hope come from? Where did you find hope in culture? There was, in World War I and after World War I, there was somebody who was very, very small by design, that was flickering on the movie screen. He wasn't a king. He wasn't a titan. He wasn't that strong American square-jawed hero. But he was a hero. He was an American hero. And most people don't look at him this way. But he didn't need any fancy titles or, land or money or anything else. Because in the end, he was a hero because he was simply you. He was simply me. He was all of us. He was every man. He's the guy who's, down on his luck, but he has nothing but a spark in his eye and a stubborn refusal to give up. He is the American psyche made flesh. He's flawed. He was scrappy. He'd cut a corner or two, when the landlord's knocking. Maybe he'd be loafing when the sun was too warm, but steal, be dishonest, never. Harm somebody else, never, not in a million years. This hero was actually homeless, or as Americans used to say, a tramp. He was the tramp. Today is Charlie Chaplin's birthday, and I want to bring him up for one reason. Charlie's little tramp is America and is the American spirit. He's lasted this long in our memories for a reason, but I don't think anybody really talks about it. Charlie's little tramp was always in it for something bigger than him. Honor, decency, the kind, quiet nobility that just doesn't need a megaphone to shout its worth. It just is. Most people have never really even seen a Charlie Chaplin movie. But they'd recognize him, but they don't even really know why. Watch the movie City Lights. It's 1931. I don't think I've ever gotten my wife to be able to sit through it. She's like, oh, Jesus, Charlie Chaplin. I know it's silent and everything else, but it is so good. It is the best storytelling on screen that you've seen, maybe ever. And it's about this tramp, this guy with, patches on his coat and just lives on the street. And he stumbles into love. And he loves not some starlet, not with somebody, draped in diamonds, but a blind flower girl who is just selling flowers on the corner. She has nothing. She's poor. And the best thing about her for the little tramp is she can't see the patches on his coat. Now, they meet each other several times through the film. She thinks he's a millionaire. She thinks he's a millionaire because he's buying her flowers, and there was confusion at the beginning of this giant Rolls Royce that pulled up, and she could hear it, and she could hear the servant get the guy out of the car, and Charlie just happened to take a walk through the car because the car was blocking his way to get to the sidewalk, so he just walked through the car, and she thought he was the millionaire. And he doesn't correct her, but he doesn't, try to impress her or demand her awe or anything. He just loves her. And so in the movie, he learns that there's a doctor who can restore her sight. A miracle, but it had a pretty high price tag. So what does this guy do? Never has two nickels to rub together. He actually does something that he doesn't like to do. He goes to work. He sweeps the streets. He boxes in a ring. He scrapes and he claws for every penny just to pay her rent and then to fund her surgery. And when he's done, when her eyes are open, he doesn't come in with a cape fluttering and, you should be grateful to me. I'm your savior. He didn't do any of that. Instead, he passes a flower shop and he looks in and he's thinking of her and he sees there she is in the flower shop. She can now see and she's working in the flower shop. She's not selling them on the corner anymore. And she turns and looks at him, and he immediately starts to walk away. He's not looking for anything. He just is looking for her joy. Watching her joy from the shadows is enough for him. He doesn't need credit. When you see this scene, it just makes your heart ache with pride. And to me, it screams America, because that's who we are. We as people have always felt the joy of lifting others up, finding your heart full because somebody else is smiling. Charlie Chaplin wasn't just a face on the screen. He is us. And sometimes we forget who that is. He was a creator. He was a genius. He came up with The Little Tramp. In the museum, we have Charlie Chaplin's trappings. This is Charlie Chaplin's cane from those movies. It was given to Danny Kaye back in the 1950s because there was a story, I think, in Time magazine that said Danny Kaye is the new Charlie Chaplin. And Danny Kaye one day got a knock on his door, and there standing at his door was Charlie Chaplin, an aging film star. And he presented it to Danny Kaye and said, "They say you're the new me. You have to have the cane." How remarkable is that? To be called a Charlie Chaplin back then, it's sure. He wrote, he directed. Do you know he composed the scores for all of his films? And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because, this guy has brought joy for so long after he's dead. One of the songs he wrote for the little flower girl, he wrote it, and it's in the movie. It's the theme of the movie. You've heard a million times, but probably had no idea that was from that movie or any movie, and you had no idea that Charlie Chaplin ever wrote it. But this is who he was.
Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. when there are clouds.
This is the American spirit.
You'll get by.
It doesn't matter. There's clouds in the sky. There's tomorrow. No matter how much you hurt, no matter how much you're struggling, it's going to be okay. It's going to get better. And I don't think it's a coincidence that that song with that sentiment written by him, really who he was as a person, as a character at least, endures. If you ask people now, name a giant of the 20th century that from the very beginning of the 20th century to the end of the 20th century, name enduring stars. Some people might say, I don't know, John Wayne. But there's two names that will come up every time. Charlie Chaplin. They don't even know why, but he is burned and seared into our collective memory. And there's another one. Mickey Mouse. And the amazing thing is, and I've never heard anybody talk about this before, so this is just me, but it's the same character. Walt Disney ripped Charlie Chaplin off. Mickey Mouse is Charlie Chaplin. Mickey Mouse is the one who is down on his luck. He's always down on his luck, him and his dog. He's always there just trying to make somebody else happy. He doesn't win in the end. Charlie Chaplin and Mickey Mouse, they don't win in the end, but they do. They see something bigger than just the win that we would all see. Mickey is the animated echo of the Tramp, which I think those two are the best cultural icons of the 20th century. When people think of the American century, and we think, oh, you want to go back to the little Leave It to Beaver days, you want to go back to the, black and white days, the days of the 1950s. No, that isn't what I think of. I think of individuals like the Tramp and Mickey Mouse. Those were the ones that influenced us and showed us who we could be. So if things are getting down in your life, just remember today is Charlie Chaplin's birthday. And just remember, smile. No matter how bad things are getting, no matter how dark things are, there is light, and it is still shining, especially this week. It's shining. And in America, we still have it better than anybody else in the world, as long as we can dream. As long as we can dream, we can be whatever we want to be. As long as we can dream, we can do. And Americans have always dared to dream, to do, and to believe in something better. Good Ranchers. It's our sponsor. This guy still wakes up every single day before the sun, still puts his boots on over his jeans, goes out in the field to feed the cattle, doesn't matter. He still mends the fence in the places that need mending. Have you ever done that? Oh, it sucks. He still calls it a good day if the work is hard and honest. He's one of the last, because every year more and more ranchers here in America are being forced to sell their land, close their gates, walk away from generations of grit and heritage. Not because they want to, but because they just can't compete anymore. Cheap foreign meat floods the market, often labeled incorrectly as being from the United States. And we buy it, most of the time without even knowing or caring. But this is why Good Ranchers exist. They partner directly with American farms and ranches for the people who know that we have to have these people, the people who care. No middleman, no imports, no question where your meat comes from. And every box you order helps keep our ranches in business. It's not just about what you have for dinner, but what kind of country you want to be. Good Ranchers. Subscribe and get your choice of protein for a year and stand with American ranchers and farmers. It's goodranchers.com. Goodranchers.com. American meat delivered.
More Glenn Beck coming up next.
Okay, that's That's all I can think about. Whoever said crime doesn't pay clearly never dipped a toe into the very profitable world of house stealing. And these days, it's easier than ever to do some, cyber criminal stuff. You can find some names, you can find some personal details online, you fake a signature, you upload a forged deed, and suddenly someone else owns your house, on paper at least. And that's the most important thing, at least when it comes to your financial future, because they can take out loans against your property. They can cash out fast. They can disappear into the wind, and you don't even know what is going on. You don't even know anything's going wrong until the bills start coming in. By then, it is far, far too late. Most people never see this coming, but, look, you're not most people. You're right here. You're listening to this program today. You're one of the smart ones, which means you likely need to get Home Title Lock. Maybe you already have it. They monitor your title 24/7. They look for any suspicious changes, and they alert you the minute that they find anything going wrong. And unfortunately, when something does go wrong, their restoration team is there to take over. They can help walk you through the entire process. They can restore everything for you. Realizing that your home's title is vulnerable to cyber criminals is a really good start, but it's only half the battle. You've got to take the necessary steps to make sure you're protected, and Home Title Lock is the place to go for that. Don't miss it. It's HomeTitleLock.com. HomeTitleLock.com. The promo code is Blaze. HomeTitleLock.com. Promo code Blaze.
Welcome. We just got some comments in from this hour I want to share with you from the Blaze family. If you want to become a Blaze member, just join us now and you can comment. We love reading everybody's comments through the show. Trey said, becoming an astronaut is a training process. I hate to agree with Stu, but he's correct. This time.
Hey.
Trisha said, Glenn, they are astronauts. Astronauts. Eddie, how do we have 7 women go to space and we don't have the first space sandwich?
Wow.
Yeah. Larry, according to Gayle's standard, if you flew from the U.S. to Europe, you're just like Charles Lindbergh. Amen. Amen. Sue just wrote in on the Charlie Chaplin monologue. Thank Glenn for the inspiration. I love him. I just love him. And I don't know. I think it's a week of inspiration. Shouldn't we be more inspiring this week? I mean, we got a lot to worry about.
We do.
I'm
sick of worrying about it too. I keep talking to people and they're like, "Oh, what do you think about this?" It's like, look, I can come up with 100 different points to make on policies that I like and I don't like. At the end of the day, I don't know that any of it makes a difference. I know. You can't. I know. You can't take all this stuff on. You can't. You can't. You can only do so much. Soft? What's wrong with me? I just think that. Well, no, I think it's the opposite, right? I think as you grow up in life, I guess you learn that panic doesn't help you, and there's so much panic on TV all the time about everything that's going on in the world. Everything's going to fall apart tomorrow. There's a constitutional crisis around every corner, and the markets are going to crash into this. And it's like, well, how much of that can you actually handle? You always say this, Glenn, which is take care of what you can take care of. Your family. Your community, focus on those things. Yeah. And watch the rest unfold.
Is Glenn Beck.